Paul Holm, in his detailed analysis of the Dublin slave trade, writes, Dublin was a major entrepot for slaves in the Viking Age. The city's strategic location and its extensive trade networks made it a key hub for the trafficking of human beings. The impact of the Viking slave trade on Ireland was profound. It not only caused immense suffering and loss, but also disrupted the social and economic fabric of Irish society. Families were torn apart, communities were destabilized, and a climate of fear and insecurity prevailed. Daibi Oikroinin, in his comprehensive history of early medieval Ireland, called Early Medieval Ireland 400 to 1200, writes, the Viking raids and the slave trade had a devastating impact on Irish society. They disrupted the existing political and social order, and they contributed to a period of instability and conflict that lasted for centuries. The Viking slave trade was a dark and brutal chapter in Irish history. It is a reminder of the human cost of conflict and the enduring legacy of exploitation and injustice. The slave trade in Viking Dublin was a brutal reality, a dark stain on the city's history. But what was life like for those who were captured and sold into servitude? What were their daily experiences like, and how did they cope with the loss of freedom, family, and homeland? The archaeological record provides glimpses into the harsh realities of slavery in Dublin. Excavations have uncovered the remains of slave quarters, often cramped and poorly constructed dwellings located on the outskirts of the main settlement. These findings suggest that slaves were segregated from the free population, living in conditions of poverty and deprivation. Lindsay Simpson, in her detailed study of the archaeological evidence for slavery in Dublin, writes, the slave quarters that have been excavated in Dublin paint a bleak picture of life for the enslaved. These dwellings were often small, dark, and poorly ventilated, with little in the way of comfort or amenities. The archaeological evidence suggests that slaves were subjected to harsh living conditions and a lack of basic necessities. Analysis of food remains and human skeletons from Dublin provides further insights into the diet and health of the enslaved. Their diet was often meager and monotonous, consisting mainly of basic staples like barley, oats, and fish. Skeletal evidence reveals signs of malnutrition, disease, and physical trauma, suggesting that slaves endured harsh labor and poor health.